Welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Today is the summer solstice, first day of summer, longest day of the year. From here, the days start to get shorter. That's the time we prune our fruit trees to keep them small. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fruit trees of different variety in this small backyard. How do we grow so many fruit trees in a small space? We keep them small. I'm going to show you how to keep them small. We're going to prune today. Summer pruning. We're going to take some time to evaluate our fruit trees, because what we're doing here in this small backyard is we're keeping these trees small. We're practicing what's called backyard orchard culture. We don't want these trees getting 20 feet tall. You're going to lose, you don't have room for it, right? I want these trees to be about as tall as me, and therefore summer pruning is when you take care of size control. During the winter time, when we prune these trees, or when we first plant the tree, we're going for finesse and for shape and to establish branching. We want good scaffolds established. We want our plant to grow in the form that we want it to grow. But in the summertime, we're not really concerned with that. All we're concerned with is reducing the vigor of the tree and bringing it back down to size. Summer pruning is all about size control. And this apricot has grown like wildfire. This apricot is an example of how vigorous these trees can be. So what we're going to do is simply take the tree down. We're not looking for crossover branches unless you just see one that's egregious and you can't live with it. We're going to evaluate our tree, kind of walk around it, and just start lopping. Now, on a tree like this that's got a gigantic, vigorous growth going upward, I'm just going to come in here and start lopping and getting all these branches about the same size. This tree will continue to grow throughout the summer, but we want to bring all of these vertical branches pretty much down to the same height. Again, we're going for size control. I mean, if you want to grow a gigantic tree, be my guest, but that's not what we're after here. Here's an oddly shaped branch going back toward the center. I'm going to leave it for now, but we're just basically going to take the vigorous growth and eliminate it. And that's about all we're going to do. This is a little bit. You don't want any one of these branches to have apical dominance. And I guarantee you, the tree will respond favorably. That's about what we're going to do to the apricot tree. We've taken it down, we've reduced it, and we've kind of balanced the tree. No longer do we have one gigantic shoot going up this way and one gigantic shoot. We've balanced the tree, and now the tree will begin to grow back in a more balanced form. And we have to do this every summer. Every summer, June, July, August, even into September. That's when you want to trim back your tree, your fruit tree, to keep it small. I'm trying to get the whole tree in the frame. If you've followed my channel, you've seen these trees since we put them in and chopped them down at 1 foot. This is a plum tree, and it's got a lot of vigorous growth, especially on this side. And like I said, we're walking around the tree to evaluate and make sure we know where we want our cuts. And yeah, there's a lot of growth coming up in the middle. We're not going to worry about that because some of that middle growth down in there is shading the trunk from the hot sun. We have an open center, that's what we want, but some of this new growth down here is actually helping us for now. What we'll do in the winter is we'll deal with that stuff. But we want to take this tree down, again, about my height. So we're just going to come in and take off a lot of this vigorous growth that's not doing anything for us. It's not helping the tree. Let's see. This tree will respond favorably. Not only are we dealing with height, but also you want to manage the outward growth as well, because you don't want to plug up your walkways. We're just going to trim for size. Now we are taking off a lot of clusters of leaves, and well, That's just the price of keeping your tree small. But what we might want to do, if you really get in here and take down a whole lot of shade-giving leaves, you might want to go ahead and paint your tree again with IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard. And that's good stuff. If you want 10% off of IV Organics, use my code GUMBO10. That's all we're going to do to this tree. This peach tree doesn't need much. We're going to let it grow. There we go. Let's move on to apples. Looking pretty good. The apple trees are growing on a modified central leader. That is, we've chosen branches that we wanted to be our main scaffolds. And, well, we've got some additional branches coming up that we don't necessarily need, but we're going to keep. First of all, prune out all your diseased looking leaves. I've got a few of those in here. But we leave a tuft. On the open modified central leader, we leave this tuft of leaves at the top to provide shade. This is a branch that we didn't plan on. Same thing with some of these side branches. This is a branch that we didn't plan on. It came off of one of our fruiting branches. We're just going to leave those. You know what? We're going to leave this tree alone because all these leaves are helping to shade the trunk. We might top it just a little bit up here to stunt that growth a bit. Just a little bit. And we're also going to harvest. Look at this. It's the last apple on that tree. Shell of Alabama. Nice pretty apple, huh? Now look at this guy. This is my Reverend Morgan, and it's wanting to grow straight up. We selected branches on this and trained them to go horizontal, but this tree didn't want to do that. This tree is not helping us. What we're going to have to do is kind of start over in the wintertime with some branching down here. We're going to have to force out some branches, and then we'll have to top this tree. Yeah, this is a frustrating tree because look at all this vertical growth. We don't need all that. So we're going to leave this tree alone until winter. Then we'll do some more formative pruning, and we'll notch the buds we want to grow, and we'll knock down all this top growth. Right now, this plant has so few leaves that we want to leave the tree with all the leaves it needs to help it pump nutrition into this tree. So if we cut this and top it, it'll only have a couple of clusters of leaves. It's not good. So we'll leave this tree alone and come back and prune in the winter. But I see some suckers coming up from the rootstock. We'll knock those down to the ground, and that's all we do with this tree. This tree looks good. We're going to leave this tree as well. We've got a cluster up here. We've got some branching coming in where we didn't necessarily need it. This tree put out a lot of branches, side branches, and our selected branches are doing well. Our volunteer branches, they're doing well. But right now is not the time to prune for shape. So we'll leave this tree alone. It's the right height, and we'll prune in the winter with this one as well. Well, here's what we want after all. We want fruit. These are the last two Anna apples, and they're ready to be harvested. So we're going to pull them off. And despite bagging, one of them has split and rotted. That's a shame, but this one here should be fine. This is the first year for apples. Look what we got. Nice, huh? That's awesome. Summer pruning is all about shape and size. This is a Barbados cherry. I know you can't see it very well because it's too heavy to move and make it where you can see it. But this tree is sending out a lot of side growth. It's kind of annoying. And this tree is, if you have one of these southern cherries, these Barbados cherry trees, you don't have to worry too much about how to prune them. You just prune them like a hedge to keep them shaped right. They don't require pruning, but you need to keep them small, you know. That's what we're trying to do here. Keep these small. All right, well, there's our prunings. We'll throw these around the garden to feed the soil. And, well, again, the chief point of summer pruning is to prune the vigor out of your tree so it doesn't get 20 feet tall. You want to keep these trees as tall as you want them. I want mine 6-7 feet tall max, and I don't want them touching each other. So summer pruning is important to knock that vigor back. You can prune your trees if they have fruit on them. It doesn't matter. Summer pruning is simply to keep the managed size. Now it's going to put on more growth as the summer goes on, and that's okay. We'll come in the wintertime when we get a good look at the structure of our tree, and we'll prune again for all the detail work, all the, keeping the shape of the tree. We'll, force out branching where we want it. We'll remove branches where we don't want it. That's for the winter when you can actually see what's going on in that messy tree. But that's what we did today. Again, prune around the summer solstice, sometime around June, July, even into August. And that's when your summer pruning will have its best effect. Hey, thanks for joining me on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. We'll talk to you next time. Happy gardening to you. Bye-bye.